What's up, guys? Welcome to Grant Speaks Canes. If you're rocking with you, then you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss out on a video. Today, we're going to listen to Joe Rose interview Mario Cristobal after putting BTA to the Florida State Seminoles. If you want to just listen to just Joe Rose, I always put the link in the description so you can just go straight to the interview. If you want to hear my commentary, then stay tuned. Let's dive into it.
And I got to tell you, man, Saturday night, no matter where you were, it was fun to watch if you were, happened to go to the game. Canes now number 2 in the AP poll, only behind Ohio State. 5-0 on the season, 28-3 after three quarters. I mean, it was just a butt kicking. And then the fourth quarter and things, but the state champs, USF, Florida State, once again, Miami owns it down here in South Florida. And we're joined this morning by the head coach, Mario Cristobal. Coach, good morning.
Joe, good morning. How are you, man?
Man, I'm hanging in there, Coach. I got to tell you, I'm hanging in there, and you're a big part of me hanging in there. It's fun to watch when you're wondering how all your big guys who have started to really take off, whether it's a true freshman, whether it's a transfer portal guy or a guy that's been here for a couple years, and you've got a core of guys on both sides of the football that are really starting to dominate games here early on. Guys, some of them we weren't sure about in spring football. Hell, some of them weren't even here for spring football that are playing at a really high level. That's got to be, just before you get into everything, that's got to feel pretty good when I look at all the names of all the guys that really are starting to play well.
We're getting better, long ways to go still, and need more consistency and attention to detail and, parts of our preparation so that we can, put it all together. But certainly, again, a lot of progress, and a lot of guys are stepping up, and we developed more depth on our roster, and we're going to have to. I mean, we're only 5 games in, and like everybody else, getting nicked up here and there. But, we have our toughest games coming up, so back to preparation.
Yeah, I agree with what Coach is saying there, and he makes a good point. You gotta have depth throughout the season. It's a long season ahead. We got another bye week coming up this week to recover. But I don't know if y'all were listening during the telecast. I know there was a lot of Miami fans at the game. Shout out to y'all who traveled to the game. But at one point, Dylan Day gets kicked out the game for targeting. And then the next play, they're saying that Thomas is dealing with an injury, and then Poyser is dealing with an injury. And they ended up being okay, and I'm sure they're okay today. But it just goes back to his point, just like that, we were about to, I don't know what we were going to do at safety. I know we got Fitzgerald, but then after that, because you got to remember, we had another safety that hit the portal. So it's important that young guys like a Justice Scott who flashed, like a Bryce Fitzgerald who he's been flashing. It's good to see those players step up because we're going to need them more and more as the season goes on because injuries and things like that are bound to happen.
Well, listen, before we get to the future, man, if you don't mind, as fans, we like to kind of talk about some of the good stuff that just happened here and the big plays in the offense, You go into a game, Coach, did you feel pretty good that all the big plays you got, especially from your 2 wide receivers and your quarterback, I mean, he was super sharp on some of these deep throws. Did you feel there were some big explosive plays in the passing game there for this game?
Well, yeah, we felt that we had been running the ball to a point where people were really packing the box, and there was going to be some opportunities there. But again, the timing and the precision of that is always a question, right? You get your 6, 5, 6, 8, even sometimes 10 shots a game, and you like to hit on half of them, and that's a good day, but we hit on most of them. And Carson, the receivers, the protection, the execution, from the flea flicker to the screen to the 4th down play, there was a lot of really high-level execution and attention to detail that worked out. And we also shot ourselves on the foot with an illegal shift that really just pisses you off, man, because that was an unbelievable play. And again, it's kind of neat because the quarterback has protection. He goes through his entire progression and just spits it out to the flat where you've got space, right? And the Malachi Toney certainly put on a tremendous show out there.
Even though
so there's a couple things there. First of all, when I look back at that flea flicker, Carson Beck dropped that thing in there perfectly. It was like just straight out, just drop it down like bloop. And then when you look at the play that got called back, though Malachi Toney is the player that I've said for years that we have been missing. We have had good players. We have had players that will make plays. But we haven't had a player that a defensive coordinator says, at the wide receiver position, like, how are we going to stop this guy? Because the thing about Xavier Restrepo, we love Xavier Restrepo. If you threw in his vicinity, he was going to catch the ball. And sometimes he would break it out. What I just watched with Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels is they caught 2 screens. It was gone. The screen, the play that got called back, there was 2 guys by Malachi Toney, and he just floated past them. It was so effortless. I don't even know how you describe it. I really don't. It was like this dude was floating. And I believe we've missed that type of player to now defensive coordinators is saying, okay, we got to stop the quarterback because, last year they said you got to stop the quarterback. But if you say we got to stop the running backs and the quarterbacks, well then are you going to leave one-on-one with Malachi Toney who can catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage and juke 17 players and beat you? Are you going to come up closer when you know in a blink of an eye Malachi Toney could be behind you? We have a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare in Malachi Toney, and those don't come every year. Defensive coordinators have to stay up and think, how do we stop 10? Whew.
Didn't count. I got to tell you, he is not acting like an 18-year-old. I think he just turned either 17 or 18, whatever it is, yards after catch, and the way he plays the game. I don't think you're really surprised. I have noticed one thing about you, Coach, in the last couple years. When a new guy comes in and he's kind of tearing it up at practice, you always tell me, calm down a little bit, okay? It's early in camp here. Let's not get carried away. But Malachi's kind of been that guy, Coach, from day one, where his feeling for the game, his toughness, his instincts, and obviously his athletic ability.
Yeah, you know what people don't get to see and probably don't even want to hear or talk about is the fact that he's one of the most physical players on our team. And then that includes all trench players and whatnot. He just throws it up in there, and you watch him from snap 1 to the end of the game. He's always just throwing himself around recklessly and trying to do whatever he can for the team. So, and then you know what? You talk to him, he wants to get better. There's still lots of areas of his game that he needs to improve upon, and he's excited to get at it.
Yeah.
And to Mario's point, I mean, we've already seen Malachi Toney blocking. Hell, all the receivers have done a great job blocking. Shout out to Kevin Beard, because I'm seeing crisp-ass routes, and I'm seeing high-effort blocking. And it just blows my mind to think how young how young Malachi Toney is. And I think about myself at that age, how immature I was, how the things I was into, I didn't have the discipline that I have now. I didn't have the grind that I have now. And to be in his position, and this isn't like the first week Notre Dame, when he broke out against Notre Dame, everybody was praising him. But he came back the next week putting in work. Came in the next week still putting in work. And then when you listen to him in his interviews and you watch him when he doesn't catch the ball, he's celebrating with other wide receivers. He's running down in the end zone with other wide receivers when he's not making the plays. And, of course, he's blocking. So he's impressed me a lot, man. I'm still stunned. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then the other guy, CJ Daniels from game one, has just you talked about his leadership and stuff, and just the way he's playing. A couple more touchdowns, yards after catch for him, also really impressive as a 1-2 punch with those two.
No doubt. It starts with his leadership. It starts with his attention to detail in preparation, and he was healthy. He really got himself back into a position where his body was feeling good, and that post ball that he caught early certainly helped set the tone for the rest of the game. And he's another guy that just week in and week out is he's awesome. He's great to be around, and looking forward to him continuing to elevate his game.
All right.
And you got to give a shout out to the coaching staff, because when he decided to go to LSU, when he entered the transfer portal and went to LSU, our coaches could have said, okay, well, he went to LSU, whatever. And then when he got back into the portal, they could have said, CJ Daniels, he went to LSU. He didn't do much at LSU. But they listened to what they thought was their scouting. And their scouting was CJ Daniels is a player who can make plays at this level. Last year, it didn't show up on the stat sheet because, one, the offense wasn't predicated towards getting him the ball. Two, he was injured most of the time. And if you go back and listen to what LSU people said about CJ Daniels, like after the season, before he entered the portal, and weeks up to that, they love CJ Daniels. So I just give our staff credit for continuing to recruit him and continuing to go at them, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm the type where I'd be like, look, you had your chance. We're going to go find somebody else, especially when he didn't do it on the stat sheet. But this staff is relentless at bringing in talent. And in a situation where a guy says, I'm not going to go to Miami, I'm going to go to this other school, it don't work out at that school, our coaches say, well, hey, look, we loved you then, we loved you now, come over to the U. And now look at what he's doing.
All right, and then on the other side of the ball, Ruben Bain. My God. I know when you just look at the stat sheet, some people got up in the morning, it's like, man, he was everywhere. And you're going, wow, he did nothing. That quarterback was dropping back there, Castellanos, and he's like, well, we can't block him. He was looking where to run. How impressive was his game without all the big stats on what he was able to do?
Well, I think it's really impressive considering that he's always attracting the attention of another lineman, of an extra back, and a tight end chipping through. And, the speed and power that he played with, the way he affected the quarterback and their game plan was awesome. And I have to also throw in there Akeem Mesidor, because, I mean, it's really, if you have time, you're on vacation the rest of the day probably. If you have time, it might be worth you throwing, some of that tape in there and watching Akeem as well, Joe.
Yeah.
He really, I mean, he played with a violence and a level of just effort and toughness that was awesome. And he's pissed. He wants to get better, and it's kind of neat. Those two guys challenge each other, and they challenge the inside guys, and all in all, just and I really want to mention too the play of the safeties now, because besides the interceptions, those guys were really impactful in getting us in the right play calls and the right adjustments, and certainly really impacting the running game as well.
Well, I'm glad.
There was a play where Danzy gets a reverse. This is early in the game. Danzy gets a reverse. And when I say Zachariah Poyser came down, he was not in the screen. All you see is, whoo, and he made the tackle. I said, okay, I think we're going to be all right. If this is how we come into play, because what's important is, one, dissecting the play when they got a lot of eye candy going on, but then when they get the ball, you got to be able to hit them and hit them back. Don't miss tackles. Don't take bad angles. Arrive violently. And when I saw him do that, I said, okay, we may be all right if this is what we're going to do. I am totally bought in on this defense. These last couple games, what have I been saying? Hey, I want to see somebody challenge us deep. Hey, I want to see this, and this. I'm bought in, especially after last week or after the FSU game. Definitely bought in.
Because they were on my list there. I want to start with Jacoby Thomas, sack and a pick. That guy has just been incredible in all the schemes you're running back there. And then the other guy is this Bryce Fitzgerald, who, because he went to Columbus High School, private school, couldn't go to spring football, couldn't be there for you. He was the only one, I think, of the whole freshman class, or one of the few, right?
Yes, sir. He was the only one. That's right.
Well, somebody forgot to tell him that, because he shows up day one. I'm out there with you and standing next to you, and he makes a play from center field in practice. I don't know what group he was running against. Some crazy interception just on natural instincts. And you said, hey, there's something about this guy. Boy, you were right. He got his third pick already this season.
Yeah, he's certainly caught. He's a quick study. I mean, he's caught on very quickly. The guys really appreciate him. He's got a great attitude, comes to work every day with nothing but intentions to get better. And guys, both, Poyser and Thomas, man, those guys, besides the interception, just the levels of physicality that they play with, the way they ran the alley and some of those perimeter plays, the sweeps, the reverses, when the quarterback breaks out, those guys came up and they made their presence felt and, forced a fumble. Keontae Scott, another one, a sack, forced fumble.
Wow.
There was a lot of, those guys really change things, man, because when teams try to eliminate your line of scrimmage by spitting the ball in the perimeter, you got to have dudes out there that play like those trench monsters. And our guys are just getting better and better at block destruction. And I can tell you this, in the locker room, they weren't thrilled. They were like, we got some stuff to clean up. We got to get better. And it's the right thing. But the last thing you want to do at this time of year is, start feeling a little bit arrogant, like you have all the stuff figured out. Brother, we got to get back to work. We got to get a hell of a lot better.
When you look at Bryce, another true freshman, 3 interceptions on the season, and he ain't even a starter. Like, think about that. This man ain't even a starter. He just be chilling. Hey, Bryce, go in there and get an interception. Okay, coach. Imagine when he becomes a full-time starter. Now, he has things he can improve on, but a true freshman at the safety position who has 3 interceptions, and he's not even a full-time starter.
Well, I got to tell you, and I want to ask you about that. And, you're up 28-3 and I mean, just dominating the friggin' game. And you guys are playing. Did you change any strategy on that 19-0 fourth quarter FSU? Did you feel you loosened up? Did you feel you're a little too conservative on play calling? What was the game plan, or did anything change for you that you saw in the fourth quarter?
No, it doesn't change. I think sometimes the simplicity of rivalry games run their course. And you're never completely secure in it, and you're never completely out of it. They just go back and forth because, play calling wise, we called the stuff that we felt great about, that we had been calling throughout the game, and other stuff we had planned that we felt could really hurt them. And penalties, self-inflicted wounds did hurt us. Lack of execution hurt us, and we got away from playing complementary football. And you know what? They did a hell of a job sustaining drives. I think 3 or 4 fourth down conversions.
Yeah, man.
But made it to a point where they really had to do a lot to get back, to give themselves an opportunity, and found a way to get it done.
I know people are, that's been the biggest narrative is Miami got way too conservative. They got way too conservative. I think Miami has to execute better when they're up, because I'm seeing passes being called. I mean, we could have punted them deep, but we went for it. The play is there, and Carson Beck overthrows them. So is that being conservative? I don't think it's that we're being conservative. I just think that we're not executing, and we got to execute because I'm seeing passing plays being called. If we were just running the rock now, Florida, there was no the last 13 plays were probably basically all runs, and that was smart. Run the ball, get the field goal. But I felt maybe on defense is where I felt maybe conservative. I felt like we couldn't get off the field. I felt like maybe we didn't do a lot of pressures just watching it, and it was just like, hey, try to keep them in the pocket and try not to get beat deep. I think that was the defensive philosophy in the fourth quarter. Just don't get beat deep, and they're not going to be able to beat us. But just like Mario said, it's things you got to work on.
You made it a point after that game that you want everybody in the country to know how important it is for the University of Miami to be state champs. There were signs, and you beat everybody. Can you just talk about that a little bit, Coach, and how important it is to see Miami back doing that?
Yeah, that has to be felt strongly. It has to be, I don't believe in proclaiming anything, but it has to be a strong statement for our program, for our university to, we've been working at this for, this is now you going into year 4. And that was a big part of the vision and the philosophy, is making sure that you make your case known in state and restore order, that Miami is going to be that program. And so to actually go out and do it for a second year in a row, it's one of our goals, one of our prominent goals. It lasts for an entire year. Certainly we don't get to play Florida again, but hopefully we could work that out some way, shape, or form. But it has to be very well known that we are going to recruit, and we're going to develop, and we're going to play at a level where it's not going to be matched in the state.
Mario really wants to play Florida again, man. I'm happy that Mario takes the state championship series, because I do think on the way to a national championship, the national championship is the ultimate goal, but there are little medals you get along the way. State championship, we got that medal, hang it up. ACC championship, that's the medal we got to get so we can hang it up. College football playoff win, that's the medal, so we got to hang it up. You got to get those medals, and I'm excited that we have a coach that takes pride in it, and that he is not afraid to play Florida. He wants Florida every year. How many times he got to say it? Schedule us, Florida.
You've always talked about the importance of line of scrimmage, and everybody raves about this offensive line. And by the way, even if the run blocking, they take it away, your pass protection. Where did that rank for pass protection? I know everybody looked at the highlights and going, wow, Carson Beck, he had some time to throw when he needs to. Those plays down the field, they take time sometimes.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you pay for car.
Remember, they're extremely physical and hard workers, and they're going to come in today and they're going to say, hey, man, we could have played better. We could have done more. And there's a lot of good stuff that we did, especially in pass pro. I mean, we kept them clean for the most part. Third down got loose on a couple of Texas that they hit us with. But and in the run game, there were moments where we're really, up to the standard. Other ones where, that's not us. We gotta do better. So we're always going to create an incredibly high standard there, one where honestly is unreachable, but one that pushes us to the max and beyond. And so, I don't.
Yeah,
I think how it goes when it comes to the big guys at the O line. We don't throw around much praise. We keep them hungry. We keep them in a place where they want to come out and just knock it around.
Hey,
I mean, the bottom line is to execute a flea flicker, you got to block it up. Especially when they're loading the box like they loaded it. And, I think, Carson Beck hit the ground maybe twice, one by a Florida State player and one when Brockenmeyer and him was celebrating. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how, if you're a quarterback out there and you're thinking about entering the transfer portal, I would be begging and pleading to play at Miami. I would be on my hands and knees to play behind an offensive line like this.
Yeah. So as you look at it now, you've had a day or so to check it out. What were you disappointed with the most as you look at what overall was just a dominating game considering everything?
Well, I mean, I think you always want to, when you're up 28-3 and you get the ball, I mean, you've got a chance to really, really slam the door, and we take it really personally when we don't. So that's an aspect, of course, that you want to, that's obvious as, as can be, you want to finish drives and extend your lead significantly so you can play to your strength. We can get after the passer, we can knock the run back, but we certainly want to improve that part of it. And it lies in the simplicity of playing together and and finish things the way you started them. So that's certainly a point of emphasis in this morning's meeting. And then in a manner where, our guys they take stuff seriously now. There's talking to all our players yesterday. That's all they want to focus on. And the ability to learn while you still won is awesome. To learn your lessons without feeling consequences of a loss is awesome. And that's going to be our entire approach, man. There's zero thought of complacency in the building, and that's where we're going to keep it.
It's better to learn and to win than feel the pain of having to learn after a loss. But you better get the shit fixed, or that loss will find you eventually. I like that Mario said, hey, we're up 28-3 and we get the ball back. We got to shut the door. We got to shut the door. Rather if it's the play calling got conservative from the coaches, rather if it's the coaches got lackadaisical, the players aren't executing, the players got lackadaisical. Whatever it is, the shit's got to be fixed, and I'm glad he's letting it be known that up 28-3, we got to close this game out. The next thing is way too many penalties. Way too many penalties. Way too many penalties.
I thought Carson Beck, Coach, you can help me out if you saw it differently, had his best game. Some of those deep throws, even in one tight window, just drops it in there in the corner to Toney. What'd you think of his play overall and how he's developed through these first 5 games?
Yeah, he's exactly what we thought, and the best part about the fact that he played really, really well is that he really, really wants to get better, and we're going to go right at the things that we can improve upon. There really is absolutely zero value in sitting back and talking about how many great things we're doing, because what we want to accomplish requires a hell of a lot more, Joe. What we want to get done and to reach our goals, it requires us to keep getting a hell of a lot better, and that's the only thing that we need to focus on, man. Nothing else is worth a damn right now.
Right. By the way, you hear all these teams that lose, like somebody always comes out and says, yeah, we've been listening to everything and we weren't, up like the way we should have to start. And I'm like, and that's kind of been your message to make sure your team never falls into that trap, and have done a really, really good job with that so far. Hey, one last question on the game. Castellanos and all this talk about him and how to rush him and he's going to, if he gets a chance. How did you think your game plan overall was against him? Because he turned the ball over. You did put pressure on him and forced him to make throws that we saw him make against Virginia too, and your guys were there to make big plays.
No, I think Coach Heatherman and the staff put together a hell of a game plan. The guys executed really, really well. He got loose in the fourth quarter a couple times. Play count was up there in the mid-80s, and that's where we lost our style of complementary football a little bit and put too much pressure on the defense. But all in all, I thought we cage rushed him pretty well. I thought the spy missed him on a fourth down, right, where we could have had the ball back there also. We mixed up the coverages enough where it was a different picture and forced some throws that maybe he didn't want to make. But the guy's a tremendous player, a relentless competitor, and he is fast as hell now. I mean, he can really, really go, and you can see why he's had a lot of success.
I'm not a big Thomas Castellanos fan. I think what he does for Florida State is good for Florida State because he can run around. But the thing about that is, like, because he can run around, your offensive line gets bailed out, because any other quarterback that isn't as fast and shifty as him, Miami probably would have had I don't know how many sacks. But the bottom line is, when you have to throw it and throw it consistently, you get behind. It's just hard to win when you can't throw the ball consistently, when you can't drop back, scan the field, and throw those routes, right? Because there was a couple guys that we dared him to throw it to, but he never got to them. And then also credit our defensive line for getting at them. They was over there hunting that boy. Mesidor, Bain, Jacoby Thomas. There's one time Jacoby Thomas, we did a simulated pressure. Looked like we were going to bring 6. We only bring, I believe, 2 D linemen in Jacoby Thomas, and they don't pick up Jacoby Thomas because they get caught up in the simulated blitz. And Jacoby Thomas, ran this man down, and I'm like, I miss these players, man. I miss athletes like that on the defense, man. But shout out to Thomas Castellanos. He does some good things, but I just feel at the end of the day, when Florida State gets behind and they can't do the reverses and the runs, it's going to be tough on them. Just like you saw with us, we didn't run the ball, but Carson Beck said, okay, we just go throw the ball, and throw the ball we did.
Well, I got to tell you, so this can be fun, man. Number 2 in the country. I know it doesn't mean much to you, but boy, the eyeballs of all the national guys, and I know Oregon had the week off, but to be sitting here at 2, I think it's good for the off week for guys to see what everybody thinks of them. And how do you look at it?
Well, you know what? It's not just like the last bye week. We got a chance to see 24, or at least some of them, but there were 24 one-score games, right? One possession games.
That's right.
There were like 6 overtime games. And look at the upsets this week, Joe, right?
Oh.
I mean, yeah, it's like, and teams got to travel across the country. Motivation goes up and down. It's not only the rat poison. You know what it is? It's the rats. It's the rats that start getting into people's heads and start saying and telling players, hey, you should play more. You should get more attention. Why isn't your name in the paper? And you got to say, you know what? Take all that and shove it. We ain't talking about that. We ain't listening to that stuff. If that's on your mind, you're in the wrong program. And you got to go at that direct. It's not just a rat poison. It's a rat. And you got to get rid of all that crap.
How hard is that?
Preach, Mario Cristobal.
That to do in today's with today's players, because you're right. Guys will go, hey, man, they're not talking about you, dude. You're playing well. Or, hey, dude, you need to be playing more on this team even though they're good, because they're going to get that, man, in today's world.
They are going to get that. And if you got the wrong players, it's really hard. If you got the right players, then you know what? You should be able to get it done. If you got the wrong players, then let them go join the rats. It's just – this is a team sport, man. It's a team – with all the – people could talk about, oh, things are different nowadays and NIL and all that stuff. You know what? That's a bunch of bull. It's still football. The ball's placed in the tee, kicked off, and let's go to work. And to get there with the right people and the right mind frame, you've got to maintain that culture and not let any of that other crap get in the way of it. So it's not, again, it's a 24/7 job. We love it. We're blessed with it. We have to get a hell of a lot better. We got to work a hell of a lot harder. And that's our focus, man.
And I love, I wish I could listen to what Mario tells players, but I love that he says you got to go head on, because look, if you got to go head on with it, because if you let it fester, if you let a player continue to hear, before, a player may hear from his family, a player may hear, oh, you should get more carries from this or that person, but now they can hear it from millions of people on social media. They can hear it from agents, and then the agents can also be like, hey, not only, you could leave and be a starter over here or there. We could get you out of here quick and in a hurry. You can redshirt. There's a lot more options. Like Mario said, it ain't just the rat poison. It's the rats, too.
All right, so can you enjoy this, a little bit? I mean, you've been grinding at this thing to get it to look the way since you got here. You've reminded everybody you had a vision, and it's starting to look like that. Can you ever just sit back a little bit and enjoy it? Can you enjoy a win at Florida State? Can you enjoy when Florida comes here and you kick them around? Or is it off and running again for the next one?
No, of course you do, man. I mean, you to see these players accomplish wins like that, man, it's the best feeling in the world. It's
right.
The ultimate goal, and it's really, really hard. People don't understand how hard it is to win. Everybody has good players, and if you don't think people have good players and they have good enough players to beat you, you're out of your mind. That's like an arrogant disregard for just understanding the reality of college football. So, no, but when the clock strikes that 24-hour mark, then you roll. And then my only other enjoyment is being on the Joe Rose Show.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's a good way to have a coach. Hey, thank you, Mario. Congratulations. Appreciate you coming on this morning, man. Have a great day.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good one, and go Canes.
Out in with this, anybody can be beat. Penn State lost to UCLA. UCLA And I already know people are going to say, oh, I knew UCLA were frauds. I knew Penn State was frauds. I knew they weren't good. How many people put money on that game? How many people had, okay, upset alert, UCLA over Penn State? Nobody had that. Nobody. That goes to show you anybody can get got anytime. And another thing is, I want to give a shout out to the coaching staff, a shout out to the players, because since I've been running this channel, one thing that we've always said is, after a bye week, this team looked unprepared. After a bye week, we got out coached. After a bye week, our players were not ready to match the physicality that was needed to win games. And I felt like like Shannon Dawson, good play calling, Coach Heatherman, good defense, players, good job. And I felt like after a bye week, it looked like we were ready, and it looked like the bye week actually helped us out in this game. And hopefully this bye week helps us out with our next game being Louisville, I believe. Man, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. And also, guys, Joe Rose Show link without me talking is in the pinned comments. I'm out. Peace.